Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Liberty Theory. I believe this is episode number 3, and I'm joined here with Ryan for our second part on colleges. The first part was uh, the environment that you might find yourself should you go to college nowadays, and the part we want to cover now is more of the idea of college as an investment. So we want to go over the numbers and hopefully that'll be useful to some people out there. Hey Ryan, how's it going?
Good, good. Researching this topic has sort of changed my opinion on it. Uh, I came into this topic much more critical of college than I actually am now after looking into it. My position has I hope that I can convince you and the listeners to um, to not see college as this big money wasting scam, but rather look at it that most people going to college are getting scammed, and that's a big difference between the two.
Oh,
So
true, yeah. I agree completely. I did have a more harsh view on it, but at the same time, uh, it's become a lot more clearly, at least to me, how to do it well.
exactly,
Because I think we both agree that overall, and the numbers support that a college degree will help you out over your entire life, but you could either do it so that it marginally helps you, or you can do it to where it greatly helps you.
or you end up uh, at the end of the day worse off.
Exactly. And there's a couple. I have an article that we'll pull up here in a second that shows the three scenarios where the people who are actually hurt by the college experience or cost are. But yeah, one or two more points before we get into the articles. A lot of times people describe college as an investment, and which it totally is. But unfortunately, when a lot of people show up there, they treat it more like a lottery, where you go there and you just choose a subject that you are interested in, and then on the opposite side of your degree, you're kind of just hoping and wishing that one, you're going to find a job, and two, that it's going to pay. And so we'll cover a lot of the information about that. And actually, I think that about covers it. Let's get to the articles. The main sentence that I want to focus on here is the between 2002, 2003, and 2012, 2013 years, prices for undergraduate tuition, room, and board at public institutions rose by 39%. And the same prices for private nonprofit institutions rose 27%.
Yep. So
And
that's 10 years.
yep, 10 years, and holy crap, it has exploded.
Yeah, and that's inflation adjusted. So
Exactly.
that really economically what that says is either the supply went down or the demand went way up. Uh,
Exactly.
and I think it's a pretty uncontroversial opinion that I don't think the supply of university education went down. So this is indicating either there's something in the system that's making it much more expensive, or something has really increased the demand for education.
Man, even when I went to college and graduated in '05, man, it's like a good $5,000 less per year. Oof.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, there it Anecdotes aren't the most useful thing in the world, but I hear several stories from time to time about, well, I paid my college tuition with the part-time job I was working. Uh,
Right.
these This is not a reality that a generation is going to see for any time in the near future.
Oh no, especially if we don't uh, change anything significantly. But yeah. So okay, so we have here a pretty a steep climb into the ever expanding costs of tuition in universities, and the next article gives us the result of this kind of climb. That being that the class of 2015 is the most indebted class of all time,
Yeah,
with an average debt upon graduating of 35,000.
indeed. Uh, and the total debt of the entire graduating class will be just under 70 billion.
Oh right, yeah. Let's see. I think there's a graph towards the bottom, right?
Uh,
Oh
two
yeah,
decades, yeah, 2 decades ago, 2 decades ago, that was just around 10 billion.
right, yeah, and that's really impressive. And touching your point earlier, is cost going up because there are colleges just collapsing and there aren't any more? There's a sharp decline in the supply, or is there a huge increase in demand? And this is obviously evidence that there's a huge increase in demand and also a huge funneling of a lot of money into education.
Education is not a finite resource. Education is not diamond. So,
Yeah,
with an increase in demand, supply should keep up, especially when the change in demand happens over time. So, uh, despite an increase in demand, this rising cost, I don't know if we'll get to it today, but another explanation is demanded just from an economic standpoint. Uh, Furthermore, if debt has multiplied by sevenfold over the last 2 decades, costs certainly have not. They've doubled, but they haven't gone up sevenfold. So
true. Yeah,
that's another thing that we need to account for is either students are getting less scholarships, students are making less that they're paying off in real time, sort of semester by semester, but the debt is actually going up proportionally quicker than the cost is.
true. Yeah, and that could probably be explained by just the hordes of people, crowding all these college campuses, right? Because I mean, their average debt isn't going up, but there's more of them, so the total pool of debt can skyrocket.
No, that's absolutely true. And
Yeah.
I sort of feel stupid for not thinking about that.
Oh no. Oh no, that's good. Actually, you were you were breaking it down in ways I hadn't even considered yet. But yeah, so okay, so point one, college price is climbing very steadily, very quickly, and two, as a result, debt is also climbing, which indicates that more and more people are borrowing to pay for their formal education. For our next article here, it gives you a couple different scenarios you want to avoid as far as being worse off after
Yeah.
attending college. And it's we won't have to break it down too heavily, I believe. But the first point is a lot of this debt apparently is around graduate students. And if I remember correctly, when I did hear about the cost of, credits on a graduate level, they are way higher than on an undergraduate level.
Yeah, Ben, I'm telling you, I really thought that my PhD in women's studies was gonna increase my income. It really did not.
No, but it'll cost you though. That's for sure. They're not going to give it to you cheap. Oh yeah, actually, a friend of mine, He just got his PhD in clinical psychology, and he is mountains in debt. And unfortunately, looking at the lists of income for college graduates, what he's studying is a little lower on the spectrum, unfortunately. So I feel kind of bad
Yeah.
for him. Hopefully he can. I'm sure he'll come out of it, but difficult position to be sure. Point two: for-profits are causing a great deal of the debt burden, especially as far as the loans that are being actually it can't be defaulted on, but I think the loans that are behind on payment, a greater proportion of those are for loans taken out for for-profit colleges.
Yeah, you kind of just sort of skipped off something I wanted to remind people of is Donald Trump can bankrupt a company, but you cannot default on your student loan.
Exactly, which makes them a bit more dangerous,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Yeah, so yeah, another reason to do this, the whole college thing, smartly. And finally, college dropouts are another main sticking point for people that are getting crushed by their student debt. Obviously, because they've taken out loans for college, they don't end up with their college degree, and now they have debt and a lower, employment rate as far as demographics go. That's kind
And
of it's kind of the
drop
worst scenario. Yep.
we'll come to this actually quite quickly, uh, but more people drop out than you might think. So we got to keep
Yes.
that in mind.
Exactly. Yep. And I think that's coming up here pretty soon. Exactly. Okay. Just I think a few more points before we get into what should I study? What is going to pay me? What is going to get me a job? And here we are, exactly like you were saying, graduation rates. I'll read a bit of this paragraph here, the second paragraph. Among first-time, full-time undergraduate students who began seeking a bachelor's degree at a four-year degree-granting institution in fall of 2007, graduation rate was 58% at public institutions and 65% at private nonprofit institutions. That's pretty startling.
This is one of those numbers that kind of should scare the pants off of you. Uh, Less than 60% of people are graduating in 6 years or less. Uh,
Right. That's a lot of people going to college that don't need to be going.
this is this is this 40 42% of people had a college experience that they were not expecting. They're dropping out, they're having to go part-time, they are uh, staying enrolled but not taking classes quickly enough to graduate in 6 years. Something's gone wrong with
Right.
this with this college experience when a few more percent and half won't be graduating in 6 years
Exactly. Or at all. That is
or at
interesting.
all.
I don't remember seeing the numbers if it broke it down between like those that take more than 6 years and those that never get the degree.
I sort of take this number I sort of read this as basically 42% of people that go into a public institution do not follow through with their initial plan. Because people don't go into college and say, I think I'll graduate in 8 to 10 years.
No. Yeah. Yeah. That's a career. That's not an education.
Yeah,
Uh,
this is a big warning sign.
yeah. And I think anecdotally, my first year in college, a lot of people were dropping out because they were playing, like Halo, 40 hours a week instead of studying or going to class or
Just just
just
y-
goofing off.
yeah, just by the by, I was putting about 40 hours of World of Warcraft my freshman year.
That'll
Um,
do it.
but the pisser is I still got mostly A's. Uh,
Yeah.
the um, you can there's a lot of time to be unproductive in college, uh, and still more than 40% aren't graduating in 6 years.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yep. And I think, you know what, I didn't run across the numbers recently, but I do remember seeing or hearing that I think a lot of a big portion of the people that never finish their degree, I believe, drop out their first year. I think that's where the biggest hit to the graduation
I've heard
rates
that as well. I've
hit.
heard that as well. It's mostly first years. Yep.
Yeah. But okay, you got anything else? I think that's all we got for this article.
I kind of feel like we don't have any articles on this, but uh, this doesn't really factor into any one person's decision to go to college or not. But if you're not in a hard science or a STEM field, you can't really go in expecting real real top-notch academic rigor. So if you're looking into a liberal art subject or a social science subject, and you've got this idea in your head that you're going to encounter enlightened, challenging thought, you might get challenging thought if if socialism is challenging to you. Really, the academic rigor is sort of confined to the STEM field.
Yeah.
Um, so we can move on from there.
Okay, cool. Okay, let's see. What's the next one we got here? Okay, and here we start getting into the employment rates for those with degrees. And on the face value, it's actually pretty good here. So in general, the employment rate was higher for those with higher levels of education attainment. For example, in 2014, the employment rate for young adults ages 20 to 24 with a bachelor's degree or higher was higher than the rate for young adults with some college, and that is 88.1% versus 75.0%.
Yeah, this graph kind of looks like you think it should.
It
This
does, yeah.
seems
Actually, I
yeah,
was
this
very
seems
surprised
pretty
when
in
I first saw it.
proportion. Yeah, this does not um, rock any boats here. Um, besides the fact that too many people are unemployed.
Exactly. And as the next article will kind of point out is, a lot of these graphs, to a degree accurate, but it also depends on how you measure a lot of things. And so that'll bring us to our next article, doesn't, which makes these graphs look a little less rosy.
Certainly, yeah, absolutely.
So in this article, recent college grads face 36% malemployment rate, which is incredibly high. And I'll read a little bit here to kind of define what malemployment is. So, more than a third of recent college grads with jobs are working in positions that don't require a degree. Economists call that figure the malemployment rate. And right now it tops 36% for college educated workers under the age of 25. And then, let's see. And then under the last paragraph here is describes kind of the numbers of college educated people in jobs that don't need a degree. So we have 152,000 working in retail, nearly 100,000 working as waiters and bartenders, and another 80,000 serving as clerks or customer service representatives, and 60,000 working in construction or manual labor.
Yeah, I worked with a guy who had a communications degree from from the University of Minnesota, and he moved lumber all day
Ouch. After graduating, or
after
do
graduating. Yep. Yep.
gotcha. Yeah, that's brutal. This paints a much more stark picture of the job market, and I think and I don't think this is specifically unique to the job market for college grads. As I understand it, a lot of the job market and the job gains that we've had in the past couple of years have been these low-skilled, jobs and even part-time employment. So this, while can be attributed maybe to areas of study, it can also possibly be influenced by just the state of the economy as a whole.
Yeah. So just doing some back of the napkin math here. Um, if you are average college student freshman year, if you have a 60% chance of graduating in these 6 years, and then when you graduate, you have a one-third chance of being malemployed, which means having a job that doesn't need the degree.
Yeah.
That's 40% plus 20%. So that means the average freshman, of all the freshmen that graduate, that's 40 plus 20, that's 60% will either have not graduated in 6 years or will have a job that doesn't need the degree.
Choose wisely, young one. Oh,
This
man.
really is going to be the lesson, though, Ben, at the end
Yep.
of it.
It is, yep. Yeah. We're definitely not trying to attack college and higher education. You just got to be smart about it, like most things in life.
These next two articles that we're going to look at are the two most important that we're going to look at.
Yep, bread and butter. Yep.
These next two articles are the most important that we're going to be looking at. So, employment rates, top 10, bottom 10. Top 10,
Exactly.
actuarial science, pharmacology, education administration, school student counseling, geophysical engineering, astronomy, teacher education, agricultural economics, medical technology technician, atmospheric science. Some of these are surprises.
And
Cool.
and some of them are very niche too, like
Yeah.
very, very specific
Well,
areas.
that actually is a trend, Ben. So
Yeah.
there's jobs for these, and there's not a lot of people getting degrees, so they all get snatched up. So let's look at the bottom 10 here:
Sure.
clinical psychology, fine arts, U.S. history, library science. I don't think that should be a degree. Educational
Yep.
psychology, military technology, agriculture, uh, uh, another
Hmm.
psychology degree,
Hmm.
and linguistics and comparative language studies. So, big change from very science-oriented fields to arts, history, psychology, and architecture, by the way. Uh,
Exactly. Yep.
so these are all above 10%. Some of them are getting close to 20% unemployment.
Man, in clinical psychology, that's got to be a lot of work for a lot of unemployment. Oof, to get that
Yeah,
degree.
oh, absolutely. Some someone is getting in the heads of college age kids and making them think that psychology is an easy degree to get. Uh, Psychology is not easy. There's, I think there's a lot of psychology students that aren't particularly good at it and trying to fill not a lot of jobs. I don't know much about these fields that have almost 0% unemployment, but this has got to tell me that there's a demand for these jobs and not enough people are getting educated in them. Uh,
Oh yeah, I would definitely agree.
so
Especially with being so focused. Like whenever I think about like areas to study or industries to get a job in, yeah, none of these really pop up.
yeah, I mean, I'm sure if you just look at average university, a lot of these aren't even offered. So you've probably got to go to a special school or a
Oh,
specific,
you know what
maybe one
that
or two.
you know what that's true. I don't think I'm not sure if I'm pretty sure where I went. most of these are probably not on there.
I suspect you're right.
Oh wow. Yeah, and actually, kind of just a point for the 10 majors with the highest unemployment. I look at a lot of these, and a lot of like if you're passionate about some of these subjects, you are much better off just doing self study and self education. You know, go to college, study for a career and a job that'll pay the bills, and then study a lot of these things
Yeah.
on your own time, like
This,
United
yeah.
States history or maybe like linguistics and comparative language. Like if that's your bread and butter, that's something that's something you can do as a hobby and talk about at cocktail parties, but not a good choice to throw your your life earnings potential behind.
I concur.
Yeah, you better. Okay, moving on to uh, an article listing the top earning fields that you can get to. And there's a paragraph I highlighted here I just wanted to run through quick. The same Fed researchers also found that the lowest earning 25% of college graduates earn less than about half of high school graduates. And the high school grads also had 4 years to make money while the college students were taking on debt. And those figures don't include the shockingly high percentage of college students who don't graduate, like we were talking about, many of whom end up with the worst of both worlds, saddled with debt, but with no degree to help their job prospects.
So just to rephrase that first thing you said, 1/4 of college graduates are making less than the median non-college going worker.
Yeah, you do not want to find yourself in that position, for sure. that, that is no bueno. Okay, yeah, let's see here. And here's actually another list of jobs that are appealing that I don't typically think of. Starting from the top, petroleum engineer. Actually, that makes a lot of sense. Median earnings 110,000 a year. Mining and mineral engineering 75,000. Metallurgical. Oh man, I could say it.
Metallurgical, my brother,
Metallurgical. I could say it
metallurgical.
in my head, just not with my mouth. 73,000. Naval architecture and marine engineering 70,000. Ooh, is that for seasteading? Is there a, a booming need for
I'm pretty sure that's for those
or is it?
secret underwater labs.
Oh damn.
Yeah,
Mostly getting hired by evil
evil,
evil
exactly.
corporations and top secret government
Doctor Evil types. Yeah, yeah.
military programs. Yeah. Chemical engineering 65, nuclear engineering 65, and so on and so forth. So again, very STEM heavy in the top 10 earnings.
With the emphasis on the E in STEM, apparently.
Yes, very much so. Got to build a lot of stuff. And actually, that's pretty interesting too. That number two and three have the lowest number of majors. I assume that's the number of people majoring in them, right?
Yeah, that's right. We can't list off all the numbers, but uh,
Yeah.
if you add up 1 through 10 highest paying jobs, you're gonna get like 200,000 graduates. And if you add up the bottom 10, you're gonna get a little. Actually,
And
actually, they're pretty close.
a majority of
Uh,
them.
if you take out uh, mechanical engineering and electrical engineering have a huge number of graduates, and those are number 9 and 10. If you take those two, it's like 45,000 people graduating every year from the top eight earning
Right,
degree.
yeah. There's
That
yeah, definitely Oh, very. I wonder if there's a shortage in those fields.
I think there
There's,
must be.
there's got to be. Okay, let's head down to the bottom 10 out of 173 apparently on the list.
Yeah, communication disorder sciences, early childhood education, uh, foreign languages, uh, drama and theater, composition and rhetoric, zoology, psychology, and library science.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, and yeah, my buddy has his PhD in clinical psychology. That's this that number hurts.
Well, hopefully by the time you get a PhD, you can do things like prescribe medicine and
Oh, that's
charge
true. Yeah, it's got
charge
to be.
$125 a session.
That's true. I bet his initial earnings potential is a bit higher than that, but that is a low place to start, though. If we're just talking about bachelor's degrees. But yes, yeah, you're right here. So we have it's like education, arts, psychology. Not a fun list right there. Yeah, yeah, I'm not seeing
Uh,
any other
so
patterns in there.
there is there is an aspect to skilled labor shortages, but you cannot avoid seeing the pattern that careers that actually make employers money get paid a lot better. Uh,
Absolutely.
Engineers make their employers a lot of money, and uh, psychologists are either self-employed or not doing psychology usually.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Uh, so it's hard to make if you're a theater major or a foreign language major, it's hard to make other people a lot of money.
Absolutely. And actually, looking at this list, there's probably a decent portion. These earnings are influenced probably decently by a decent amount by people with these degrees, but not working in the field.
Yeah,
We're probably looking at the mal employment numbers right here.
my reading of this article suggests that this includes yeah, so includes malemployment or underemployment. So yeah, I suspect you're right.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So those are the two. Those two articles carry the heft of what I think is important about what we're talking about right now. How much you're going to earn, and what are the odds that you're going to earn it? Because after all, I do buy the rhetoric that college is an investment, and if you're investing in anything, whether it's stocks or bonds or startups or anything of what have you, you look at how much money you got to pour into it, and you look at how much money or how much in return you're going to get on the other side. And I fear a lot of people going into college don't take a look at the backside like we're doing now. I think there's one or two more articles we can look at here. Ah, yes, I have a report here from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, and there's a paragraph I want to read here real quick. That said, both unemployment and underemployment have followed a clear upward trend for recent college graduates over the past 2 decades, and particularly since the 2001 recession. In addition, it has become more common for underemployed college graduates to find themselves in low-wage jobs or to be working part-time. It is not clear whether these trends represent a structural change in the labor market or if they are consequences of the two recessions and jobless recoveries of the first decade of the 2000s. Either way, young college graduates entering the labor market since 2001 recession face more challenges in finding a good job, while many of these graduates will eventually find employment or transition into higher skilled jobs as they gain experience. And as the labor market normalizes, recent research suggests that those who begin their careers during such a weak labor market recovery may see permanent negative effects on their wages.
Yeah, a lot of this is my view on a lot of this is colored by just sort of basic economic considerations. Unless you're scamming people, the only way to make money is to sell a good or a service. And there's a lot of people willing to do work for very little money. There's a lot of people willing to write. There's a lot of people willing to uh, do waitress. There's a lot of people willing to cashier. And the more people are willing to do a job and the less skilled it is, the lower it's going to push wages. So the way to get a high skilled job is to do a really, really crappy job because no one wants to do it, or do a really, really high skilled job because not a lot of people can do it. Uh,
Exactly. And even part of that too is if you are a high skilled individual, you can negotiate harder for, reimbursement for your labor. Somebody, obviously I'm going to use extreme examples here, but somebody who is working at McDonald's has very little bargaining power when it comes to deciding, how much to get paid per hour. But if let's say you're like a network engineer, you can, if the employer is offering you wages that you might not find good enough, you probably have some wiggle room to play with.
Almost everyone is technically replaceable, uh,
Yeah.
but and an employer won't pay you more than you're worth. Uh, but a lot of the times you can negotiate your way. Uh, you can negotiate your way up to uh, getting a lot closer to getting paid what you're making your employer.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, because in essence, it's just your wage is an intersection between, how much you want to get paid and how much they want to pay.
Sure,
And
yeah.
and the ceiling on that is, yeah, how much value you bring to the scenario. Let's see. And so let's say you look at the numbers and traditional college might not, doesn't look as appealing to you and might not, you consider it not being the way to go. Well, you can take a step down, not literally, but I guess a step in a different direction. And according to this article on CNN Money, community colleges might be a decent choice for those that don't find a 4-year degree to be something that will get them where they want to go. For instance, let's see here. Okay, here it is. Nearly 30% of Americans with associate's degrees now make more than those with bachelor's degrees, according to Georgetown University's Center on Education and the Workforce. In fact, other recent research in several states shows that on average, community college graduates right out of school make more than graduates of 4-year universities. And let me see here. There's a paragraph that lists some examples of subjects you can study and the earning potential. Okay, here we go. With a 2-year community college degree, air traffic controllers can make $113,000 a year. Radiation therapists can make $76,000 a year. Dental hygienists, $70,000. Nuclear medicine technologists, $69,000. That's interesting. I'm not sure what a nuclear medicine technologist is. Is that like I wonder if
It
that's
sounds
like
unethical.
yeah, exactly. It sounds evil almost. Sounds like evil experimentations. I wonder if that's like chemotherapy kind of stuff.
I have no idea.
Yeah. Oh, moving on. Nuclear technician, 68,000. Registered nurse, 65, and fashion designer, 63,000. That's weird. We're gonna let that one slide. I don't know. Not sure if I believe that one. But yeah, but there you have it. So community college could be way cheaper and more lucrative.
Yeah, and maybe about half the time commitment. Uh,
Exactly, 2 years.
way more, almost certainly less than half the debt. Um,
Definitely.
and you may actually find yourself having more fun at your job too.
Right, yeah. And it does appear that, so like a four-year university, those are almost just an exercise in endurance for taking tests, not necessarily learning skills that you can take directly to a job and start applying them. But for a community college, it appears here that from the list of professions I just named off, they offer a lot of skills baked into the curriculum where you can go to the job, and obviously there's going to be on the job learning, but it looks like you almost graduate kind of ready to hit the ground running without having to get trained again by your employer.
It is actually a little bit silly how it's such a common story where, oh yeah, I got my degree and then I I got a job and then spent a month in training and then I could do my job.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. It never ends.
uh, four-year universities and colleges really have found themselves in a pretty weird spot as to what exactly do we know when you tell us I have a 4-year degree, I have a college degree in X or Y. It's really not all that clear what that tells us. Uh,
Right. I think there's definitely been a trend towards, more of a focus on being well-rounded in your education, and I think kind of a result of that is, well, you're just filing off the more specific and possibly like detailed education that can go on.
yeah,
It's
no
almost
one,
like a
no
jack of
one,
all trades kind of deal.
yeah, no one's becoming a billionaire just knowing a little bit about everything.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, because in college you're definitely pulled in a lot of different uh, directions as far as subject matter, especially the first 2 years. The second 2 years, you get more into your focus and your major. But as a result, you're spending 2 years bouncing around, possibly studying a lot of stuff that you don't really care about. And then it's only the last 2 years where you're sharpening your teeth and learning perhaps the useful things that you can take out in the world.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair assessment. From all this stuff that we've looked at, my big takeaway is if you want to go to a 4-year university, you've got to be able to tell yourself, I know I'm graduating.
Absolutely.
I don't just like, oh, I know I can do it. That's not enough. I know I'm seeing this to the end. And if you can't say that, I think it might be prudent to say I'm going to wait on this.
True. Yeah, it's 4 years. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of effort. Yeah, you don't want to go in there and spin your wheels and then find yourself worse off than you are. But yeah, and then at the same time though, college definitely it's definitely overall a plus, but you got to do it right. And
You gotta finish
yeah, you got to finish. Yeah,
and preferably get a good degree.
exactly. Yeah. So if it all boils down to choose something. Obviously, you want to be interested in it because if you're going to study something and go into a field, like you want to at least be interested or you can tolerate it. But yeah, so it needs to pay enough money to support the kind of life you want, and you need to be able to actually get employment in that field on the opposite side of it. So it's definitely the whole investment mindset. Make sure you get something on the other side of the whole deal.
one of the things that I was thinking about looking at all this data is it made me wish the episode we were doing was how bureaucrats screwed up college.
Yeah.
But
that.
that's not what we're talking about today.
Oh no, not yet. I'm sure that'll come at some point. Yeah. Okay. Well, Ryan, do you have any final thoughts? I think I've said everything I
Uh,
want to say.
I I actually am happy to say that I came out less cranky about this whole thing after doing the research than I did before, and that's a rare occurrence.
Yeah, that is
So,
true. Yeah. I was I was coming into this ready to, drop Hellfire missiles, but that's not not quite necessary.
our overlords in the government have done us well, haven't they?
Yeah, we should all be glad and thankful. All right, everybody, thanks for listening. That was Liberty Theory.